The endless darkness of space surrounded the Aquarian research vessel as it drifted silently through the outer reaches of the Nebulan system. Zeltura moved gracefully through the ship, her 6 luminescent tentacles propelling her forward with gentle undulating motions. Her 4 eyes constantly adjusted to the changing light conditions aboard the vessel, scanning the data feeds that floated around her, as the lead xenobiologist of the expedition, Zeltura, had spent the last 3 cycles, studying the unusual radiation patterns emanating from the 5th planet in the system. The Aquarians were peaceful explorers, with technology far more advanced than many of the younger species in this sector of the galaxy. Their mission was one of scientific discovery and cultural understanding, not conquest or exploitation. The preliminary scans show signs of artificial structures on the northern continent. Zeltura communicated telepathically to her research partner, Mixlor, who floated, nearby, his tentacles a slightly darker shade of blue than her own. But there are no energy signatures consistent with advanced technology. Mixlor extended 2 tentacles toward the holographic display, adjusting the resolution. Could be an abandoned outpost. Perhaps from the Trilaxian expansion era. Zeltura was about to respond when the ship's alarm system activated. Pulsing red lights filled the research chamber, and the telepathic emergency broadcast resonated through her consciousness. Unknown. Vessels approaching defensive systems activated. All research personnel returned to central chambers immediately. She and Mixlor exchanged a quick look of concern before propelling themselves rapidly toward the central hub of the ship. They had nearly reached it when a violent impact rocked the entire vessel, throwing Zeltura against a wall. The lights flickered and failed, plunging the corridor into darkness, save for the natural bioluminescence of their tentacles. "We're being boarded." Mixlor's telepathic voice was tinged with fear, something Zeltura had rarely experienced from her colleague. These attack patterns match Cresian military protocols. The Cresians were known throughout the sector as aggressive expansionists with little regard for other sentient species. They were reptilian in nature, with scaled bodies and technology focused primarily on warfare and subjugation. Most civilized worlds avoided their territories, but the Nebulan system was supposed to be well outside their sphere of influence. Another explosion shook the ship more violently than the first. The emergency containment fields activated, separating different sections of the vessel. Zeltura watched in horror as a field materialized between her and Mixlor, cutting them off from each other. "Get to the escape pods." She communicated desperately, her telepathic voice barely penetrating through the containment field. "I'll try to reach the others." Mixlor hesitated but nodded before disappearing down an adjacent corridor. Zeltura turned and propelled herself as quickly as possible toward the central chamber. Her people needed her. She was responsible for suggesting this expedition, and she would not abandon her crew. The smoke filling the corridors made visibility difficult even with her 4 eyes adapted for the deepest ocean environments of her homeworld. She could hear unfamiliar sounds ahead, harsh guttural commands in a language she recognized as Cresian from the cultural databases. The translation matrix implanted near her central nervous system automatically began processing the words, "Secure all specimens." A voice commanded, "The commander wants any survivors taken to Research Facility 7 for processing." Specimens, the word, sent a chill through Zeltura's body. The Cresians didn't see them as sentient beings with rights and dignity, only as biological curiosities to be studied and exploited. She had heard rumors of Cresian research facilities, but had dismissed them as exaggerations. She paused at an intersection, hiding herself in a small maintenance alcove as a group of Cresian soldiers marched past. Their scaled bodies were covered in form-fitting armor, and they carried energy weapons pointed aggressively forward. They were dragging something behind them, and Aquarian Zeltura recognized Jivpan, the navigation specialist. Her tentacles were limp, and a restraining collar had been attached to her upper body. Zeltura waited until the soldiers passed before continuing toward the central chamber. She had to find survivors, help them reach the escape pods. But when she finally arrived at the central hub, her hope evaporated. The large chamber was filled with Cresian troops and the bodies of her fellow researchers lay motionless on the floor. Some were clearly dead, others unconscious or restrained. She backed away slowly, trying to remain undetected, but her movement caught the attention of a Cresian officer who spun around instantly, locking eyes. With her, another one. The officer hissed, raising a weapon. Security team to Section 4. We have a live specimen attempting to flee. Zeltura didn't hesitate. She turned and propelled herself as fast as her tentacles would allow back through the corridors. Her people were not built for speed on dry surfaces, but fear gave her strength she didn't know she possessed. She had almost reached an emergency evacuation point when an energy net deployed from the ceiling, wrapping around her tentacles and sending painful electrical pulses through her body. She collapsed to the floor, her vision blurring as Cresian troops surrounded her. The last thing she remembered before losing consciousness was a scaled face leaning close to examine her. This one looks like a mature female, good condition too. Tag it for priority research at Facility 3. Zeltura awoke to pain. Sharp clinical lights blinded her sensitive eyes, and her tentacles were restrained, spread wide, and connected to monitoring equipment. She was suspended in a tank filled with a synthetic liquid that approximated the conditions of her homeworld's oceans, but it felt wrong somehow. Too sterile, too artificial. Beyond the glass walls of her tank, she could make out the shapes of Cresian scientists moving around a laboratory. Their scaled bodies moved with cold efficiency as they monitored equipment and made notes on data pads. One of them noticed she was conscious and approached the tank. Specimen X-117 is awake. The scientist announced to the others. Vital signs are stable. Brain activity is increasing to normal parameters. Another Cresian joined the first, examining her with clinical detachment. Remarkable adaptive physiology. The cellular regeneration rate is unlike anything we've documented before. Begin the extraction sequence for sample series 12. Focus on the neural tissue and reproductive organs. Zeltura tried to communicate telepathically with them to explain that she was a sentient being, a scientist like them, but either they couldn't receive her telepathic signals or they simply didn't care. Her attempts to move her tentacles resulted only in tighter restraints and notes being made on data pads, days blurred together in an endless cycle of tests, injections, and sample collections. The Cresians treated her like a fascinating specimen, with no more rights or dignity than a laboratory animal. They spoke about her, never to her, discussing her biological functions and responses, as if she were merely an interesting puzzle to solve. She learned that she was being held in a secret Cresian research facility, dedicated to studying potentially useful biological adaptations from other species. The scientists were particularly interested in the Aquarians' ability to communicate telepathically and their cellular regeneration capabilities. During the brief periods when they left her alone, Zeltura tried to maintain her sanity by retreating into memories of home, the crystal cities beneath the vast oceans of her world, the elegant dance of light through water as Aquarians communicated and created art together. She clung to these memories even as the constant experiments weakened her body and spirit in her darkest moments. She wondered if death might be preferable to this existence, but something kept her fighting, a stubborn refusal to give the Cresians the satisfaction of breaking her completely. Perhaps somewhere Mixlore or others had escaped. Perhaps someday they would find her one-night cycle, when the laboratory was minimally staffed. Zeltura noticed something unusual. A Cresian guard was behaving strangely, stopping frequently to check data terminals and surveillance equipment in patterns that didn't match the normal security protocols. She had studied her captors carefully over time, learning to distinguish individuals and recognize their routines. This guard was doing something unauthorized. The guard approached her tank, and for the first time since her capture, a Cresian looked directly into her eyes with something other than clinical curiosity. "Can you understand me?" the guard asked softly. Zeltura barely moved one tentacle in affirmation. The guard glanced around, ensuring they weren't observed. "There are rumors among some of us about your kind that you're not just animals, that you have civilization technology. Even a few of us don't agree with what they're doing to you." Hope flared briefly in Zeltura's heart. Was this guard offering help? She moved her tentacle again, more deliberately this time. "I can't help you escape," the guard said, dashing her hopes. "But I wanted you to know there's a coalition forming, beyond Cresian space species working together, including a new one called humans. They've been interfering with research facilities like this one, sometimes freeing subjects. The guard suddenly straightened as footsteps approached. She resumed her professional demeanor and continued her patrol as if nothing had happened. But Zeltura clung to those words like a lifeline. Humans. A coalition. Someone was fighting back. Over the next several cycles, she observed subtle changes in the facility. Security was tightened, new. The small ship approached the Cresian research facility, using the planet's unusual magnetic field to mask its signature. The vessel bore no official markings, but its design suggested Earth origin with modifications for deep space travel inside. The cramped cockpit, 3 women checked their equipment one final time. Facility schematics downloaded, said Kate, her fingers dancing across the holographic display. Security systems identified 7 minutes until the shift change. That's our window, Lily nodded, adjusting the settings on her tactical suit. The adaptive fabric tightened around her body, offering protection while maintaining maximum mobility. Her auburn hair was pulled back in a tight bun, and her green eyes reflected determination. Meg, what's the status on the biological scanners? Lily asked. Turning to the third woman, Meg, a compact woman with dark skin and close-cropped hair, looked up from her equipment. Calibrated for aquatic life forms, specifically Aquarian biosignatures based on the intel we received. If there are any Aquarians in that facility, we'll find them. The 3 women were part of a covert Earth operation known as Haven Humans against violent exploitation of non-humans. The organization had formed in response to disturbing discoveries made during humanity's first ventures into deep space. While many advanced species dismissed humans as primitive newcomers to galactic society, these primitives had shown an unexpected moral outrage at the treatment of sentient beings by certain older species. Remember? Lily said, checking her weapon. This is a rescue mission, not a military operation. We get in, identify any captives, extract them, and get out. Minimal engagement with Cresian personnel, unless they engage first. Kate added, her expression hardening. Then all bets are off. Lily nodded reluctantly. The jamming device will disrupt their communications for 15 minutes maximum. After that, we need to be gone. Approaching insertion point, Meg announced as she guided the ship toward a maintenance airlock on the facility's lower level. Docking in 3, 2, 1. The ship connected with the airlock with barely a sound. The women moved quickly, securing breather masks rather than full helmets to maintain maximum visibility while protecting themselves from any potential airborne contaminants. They had studied Cresian biology extensively and knew that many of the reptilian species' biological weapons would be harmless to humans, but caution remained essential. They cycled through the airlock and entered the facility, moving in perfect coordination. Kate accessed a terminal, uploading a virus designed to create a false containment breach alert in a distant section of the facility. The distraction would draw security personnel away from their actual target. Alert activated, Kate whispered. We have 7 minutes before they realize it's a false alarm. The women moved through the maintenance tunnels, following the path they had memorized from stolen schematics. Their objective was the main research laboratory, where, according to their intelligence, an Aquarian scientist was being held. The Aquarians were a peaceful species with impressive telepathic abilities. The thought of such beings used as test subjects filled the humans with righteous anger. Lily took point, her scanner sweeping for life signs. As they approached the laboratory level, the device began to pulse, indicating multiple Cresian biosignatures ahead. 6. Cresians in the next junction, she whispered, security detail responding to the false alarm. The women pressed themselves against the wall in a maintenance alcove as the Cresian guards rushed past. Their scaled bodies moved with military precision, weapons at the ready. None of them noticed the 3 humans hidden in the shadows. Once the guards had passed, Meg consulted her scanner. Laboratory access is 2 levels up. The main elevators will be monitored, but there's a service shaft that should get us there. They located the service shaft and climbed quickly, using the augmented strength provided by their tactical suits. The climb was exhausting, but none of them complained. Their mission was too important for personal comfort at the laboratory level. They paused outside a sealed door. Kate connected her decryption device to the access panel. Security protocols are higher than expected. She muttered, "This will take a minute." While Kate worked, Lily and Meg scanned the surrounding area. "I'm getting a strong reading," Meg whispered, excitement in her voice. "Definitely Aquarian biosignatures, one life form, possibly more." "Vitals?" Lily asked. "Weak but stable." Meg replied, "They're alive but in distress." The door slid open with a soft hiss, revealing a dimly lit corridor beyond. Kate pocketed her device with a satisfied smile. "We're in." They moved through the corridor, their scanners leading them toward the laboratory. The facility was eerily quiet, most personnel having responded to the false alarm. At the main laboratory entrance, they paused, Kate once again working on the security panel. "Something's wrong," she said, frowning. "The security here is different. Adaptive. Almost like it's..." Before she could finish, the door suddenly opened, revealing a large laboratory beyond scientists in protective gear. Looked up in shock at the three human women standing in the doorway. "Intruders," one of the scientists shouted, reaching for an alarm panel. Meg reacted instantly, firing her stun weapon. The scientist collapsed before reaching the panel. The other scientists backed away, some raising their hands, others looking for weapons or escape routes. "Nobody move," Lily commanded, her voice amplified by her tactical suit. "We're not here for you. We're here for the captives. These are research specimens," one brave or foolish scientist protested. "Property of the Cresian Science Ministry. You have no jurisdiction here." Kate leveled her weapon at the scientist. "They are sentient beings, and we're not discussing jurisdiction, we're taking them. Do you want to be conscious for that process or not?" The scientists wisely chose to cooperate, allowing themselves to be secured with restraints. The humans worked quickly, Meg watching the prisoners while Lily and Kate moved through the laboratory following their scanner readings. "Over here," Lily called, spotting a large containment tank at the far end of the room. Inside the tank, floating in a clear liquid, was an Aquarian her. 6 tentacles were held spread by restraints, and numerous tubes and monitoring devices were connected to her body. Her 4 eyes were closed, but subtle movements indicated she was alive. Lily approached the tank, placing her hand against the glass. "She's alive," she said, relief evident in her voice. "But barely. We need to get her out now." Kate examined the tank's control systems. "These are life support systems. They're keeping her in an artificial environment. I don't know if we can safely remove her. We have to try." Lily insisted. "Check if there's a portable containment system we can use." Meg called from across the laboratory. "Found something, a transport tank with life support. It's small, but it should work for a short journey." They quickly prepared the transport tank, filling it with the same liquid from the main containment system. Kate carefully studied the monitoring equipment connected to the Aquarian. "These aren't just life support," she said, her voice hardening. "They're conducting experiments, tissue samples, neural monitoring. I think they're even harvesting reproductive material." Lily felt sick, but focused on the task at hand. "Can we disconnect her safely?" Kate nodded. "I think so. The primary system seems straightforward, but we need to be careful. Some of these connections look like they go deep." While Kate worked on the controls, Lily stood by the tank, watching the Aquarian closely. The creature's 4 eyes suddenly opened, fixing directly on Lily. The human felt a strange sensation in her mind, almost like a gentle touch. "I think she's conscious," Lily said softly. "She's looking at me." "Talk to her," Meg suggested, while keeping watch on their prisoners. "The Aquarians are telepathic. They might not understand our language, but they can sense emotions and intentions." Lily pressed her hand against the glass again, looking directly into the Aquarian's eyes. "We're here to help you," she said clearly. "We're going to get you out of here. You're going to be okay." The Aquarian moved one tentacle slightly, in what might have been acknowledgement. Kate finally managed to override the tank's security systems. The fluid began to drain slowly from the main containment unit. "Get ready with the transport tank," she instructed. We need to move her quickly once she's free. As the fluid drained, the Aquarian became fully visible. Her body was marked with numerous surgical scars and injection sites, evidence of the cruel experiments she had endured. Lily felt a surge of anger, but pushed it aside, focusing on the rescue. When the tank was nearly empty, Kate activated the release mechanism for the restraints. The Aquarian's tentacles fell limply around her body. She tried to move, but was clearly weak from her captivity. Easy, Lily said as she and Meg carefully opened the tank. We're going to help you. The Aquarian reached out one tentacle, touching Lily's hand. The contact sent a flood of images and emotions into Lily's mind. The pain of captivity, the fear of endless experiments, the loss of hope, and beneath it all the dignified intelligence of a being equal to, or greater than, human comprehension. Lily gasped but maintained the contact. You can communicate this way, she whispered. I understand. More images flowed. Between them, the Aquarian sharing glimpses of her world, her people, her life before capture. Lily, in turn, projected feelings of reassurance and determination to help. The exchange lasted only seconds, but conveyed more than hours of conversation. We need to move, Kate urged, checking her timepiece. Security will figure out our distraction any minute. The Coalition outpost floated in the neutral space between star systems, a massive space station constructed from contributions of a dozen different species. Its design reflected the diverse needs of its inhabitants, with sections adapted for various atmospheric requirements, gravity preferences, and biological necessities. To Zeltura, it represented hope, a place where different beings could coexist and cooperate. The human ship docked in one of the smaller bays designed for covert arrivals and departures. A medical team was waiting, consisting of a Tralaxian physician and two assistants of species Zeltura didn't recognize. They approached with a specialized containment unit designed for aquatic life forms. Her vital signs are stable, but she's severely malnourished and showing signs of trauma to several major organ systems, Lily explained as they transferred Zeltura to the new containment unit. The Cresians were conducting extensive experiments, including tissue harvesting and neural mapping. The Tralaxian physician, a tall being with 4 arms and iridescent skin, nodded gravely. We will begin treatment immediately. The Coalition has extensive experience with rehabilitating victims of Cresian research facilities. Zeltura watched this exchange with interest. The human spoke of her condition with genuine concern, not the clinical detachment of the Cresian scientists, and the Coalition medical team treated her as a patient, not a specimen. She extended a tentacle toward Lily, who immediately understood the request for contact and placed her hand against the containment unit. Will you stay? Zeltura asked telepathically. Lily looked at her colleagues. Kate was already discussing the mission details with Coalition security personnel while Meg was uploading the data they had gathered about the other captives at the facility. Yes, Lily replied. At least until we know you're stable. I promise to help you, and that includes making sure you receive proper care. The Tralaxian physician led them through the station to the medical center, a state-of-the-art facility with treatment areas designed for dozens of different species. Zeltura was moved to an aquatic recovery chamber, a large tank filled with nutrient-rich water calibrated to match the oceans of her homeworld. The feeling of being suspended in proper water, not the sterile solution the Cresians had used, was immediately soothing. Medical devices, very different from the invasive equipment of the Cresian laboratory, monitored her condition without causing discomfort. Coalition medical technology was designed to heal, not to extract. For the first time since her capture, Zeltura felt her body beginning to relax. The Coalition has contacted your people, Lily explained, sitting beside the recovery tank. They're sending representatives. We should hear from them within a day. The news that her people knew she was alive, that they were coming for her, filled Zeltura with emotion. She had resigned herself to dying in that laboratory. Now she might see her homeworld again. How did you find me? She asked Lily telepathically. Why would humans risk themselves for an Aquarian? Lily smiled. We're part of an organization called Haven Humans Against Violent Exploitation of Non-Humans. We formed it after our first contact with Galactic Society, when we discovered what species like the Cresians were doing. But humans are new to space travel. Zeltura responded, most established species consider you primitive. Maybe that's our advantage, Lily said. We're too primitive to accept that this is just how things are done. We still believe we can change things. The simplicity and sincerity of this statement impressed Zeltura. In her experience, most advanced species had developed complex justifications for their actions, moral frameworks that could rationalize almost any behavior. These humans seemed to operate from a more basic, but perhaps more powerful ethical stance. If something was wrong, they opposed it regardless of political consequences or historical precedent. Over the next hours, as medical treatments began to heal Zeltura's physical wounds, she learned more about the humans. Kate joined them, explaining how Haven had formed Earth's governments weren't taking action fast enough. Kate explained, sitting beside Lily. Too worried about diplomatic relations with established powers, but a group of us couldn't sit by and watch sentient beings treated like laboratory specimens. So, we formed our own response team, small, fast, adaptive, and dangerous, Lily added with a smile. The Cresians have put bounties on known Haven operatives. Worth it, Kate replied. Her expression grew serious. The data we recovered from the facility shows they were studying your telepathic abilities, trying to find ways to weaponize them. Zeltura wasn't surprised. The Cresians had been particularly interested in her brain activity, often causing excruciating pain as they stimulated different neural pathways. My people use telepathy for communication and artistic expression, she explained, not as a weapon, which is exactly why the Cresians want it. Kate said, they can only imagine technology in terms of its potential for domination as They talked. Meg arrived with news. Coalition Security is organizing a rescue operation for the other captives. We identified 12 different beings in those stasis pods, including 3 from species we've never encountered before. How soon? Lily asked. Within hours. They're not waiting. The Cresians will be expecting something after our raid, but probably not so quickly. Zeltura felt a surge of hope for the other captives. She had been aware of their presence in the facility, though she had never seen them. The Cresian scientists sometimes discussed their other research subjects in front of her, as if she couldn't understand. Their casual cruelty toward beings they considered inferior had been almost as painful as the physical experiments. The Trilaxian physician returned with updated medical information. You are responding well to treatment, he informed Zeltura, directly acknowledging her as a person, not merely discussing her with the humans. Your natural regenerative capabilities are remarkable. Once properly supported, your body is healing itself rapidly. When can she leave the recovery tank? Lily asked. Within hours, though. I would recommend at least a full day of immersion. The damage to her systems was extensive, particularly to the neural pathways associated with telepathic communication. Zeltura had been aware of the difficulty she experienced when attempting telepathic contact. It required more effort than it once had, and the connection wasn't as clear. She had attributed this to weakness from captivity, but now understood the Cresians had caused actual damage to her abilities. Will she recover completely? Lily's concern was evident. I believe so. The physician replied, but it will take time. The coalition has specialists in neurological rehabilitation for telepathic species. They can assist once she is stabilized. As the physician departed, Kate received an urgent communication. She listened intently, her expression growing serious. Problem? Lily asked, noting her friend's change in demeanor. Coalition intelligence just intercepted Cresian communications. They're sending a science vessel to the outpost claiming we kidnapped their property. They're demanding the return of specimen AX-117. Zeltura felt fear rising within her. She couldn't go back to that place. That's not happening, Lily said firmly, sensing Zeltura's distress. The coalition doesn't recognize Cresian claims on sentient beings. No, Kate agreed. But it complicates things. The Krasians are pressuring, some of the coalition members threatening trade sanctions. The bureaucrats are getting nervous. How long until her people arrive? Meg asked. Their fastest vessel is still 10 hours out. Kate replied, The Krasian ship will be here in 6. Lily stood, pacing beside the recovery tank. Then we need to be gone before they arrive. We can't move her yet. The Trilaxian physician protested, having overheard. She needs at least several more hours in the recovery environment. Can we move the recovery environment? Lily asked. Load the entire tank onto our ship. The physician considered this. It would be possible, but your vessel's life support systems would need significant modifications to maintain it. I can handle that. Meg offered. Engineering is my specialty. Where would we go? Kate asked. We can't return to Earth. The Krasians would follow, and we can't outrun them indefinitely, Lily thought for a moment. We don't need to outrun them indefinitely, just long enough for the Aquarian delegation to arrive. We could rendezvous with them somewhere safe outside Krasian influence. The Proxima Centauri neutral zone. Meg suggested, it's within range of our ship, and the Krasians avoid it because of the radiation anomalies, which our ship is shielded against. Kate added, nodding, it could work. They quickly developed a plan. Meg would work with the coalition engineers to modify their ship's systems to support Zeltura's recovery tank. Kate would coordinate with coalition security to create a diversion when the Krasian vessel arrived, and Lily would stay with Zeltura, ensuring her condition remained stable during the preparations as the others departed to their tasks. Lily returned to her position beside the recovery tank. Zeltura extended a tentacle against the glass, and Lily placed her hand there, maintaining their connection. Why do you continue to risk yourselves for me? Zeltura asked. You have already done more than anyone could expect. Because it's not finished. Lily replied simply. We promised to reunite you with your people, and that's what we're going to do. The Krasians are powerful. Their influence extends throughout this sector. They will not forget what you have done. Coalition security managed to delay the Krasians for 30 minutes with document verification and containment procedures, but their patience was wearing thin. The lead Krasian scientist, a tall female with distinctive red scale patterns around her eyes, demanded immediate station-wide access. Your stalling tactics are transparent, she hissed at the coalition security chief. Our tracking data clearly shows our property was brought to this station. If you continue to obstruct a legitimate biological security concern, we will file formal protest with all coalition members. In the diplomatic section, Meg rushed in with the news. Ship's ready, but we have a problem. The Krasians have posted guards at all main docking bays. Can we use a secondary bay? Lily asked. Possible, but they'll detect the launch. We need a distraction. Kate had been monitoring coalition security channels. I have an idea. The Krasians are spreading their personnel thin, trying to cover all possible locations. Our best chance is to create multiple simultaneous diversions. While they finalized their escape plan, Zeltura concentrated on conserving her strength. The recovery tank had significantly improved her condition, but she was still far from her normal capabilities. The Krasian experiments had taken a toll, particularly on her neural pathways. She could feel the damage when attempting complex telepathic connections. The memories she shared with Lily were clear, but reaching beyond immediate contact was painful. Lily noticed her discomfort. You should rest, save your strength. There is something I must tell you, Zeltura communicated, about the Krasian experiments. They were not merely studying my biology, they were attempting to extract and replicate my telepathic abilities. For what purpose? Control influence. Their notes indicated they believe adapted Aquarian neural tissue could be used to create devices capable of manipulating other beings' thoughts. Lily's expression darkened. Mind control technology. Precisely. If they recapture me, they will continue this work. And if they succeed, they won't recapture you, Lily said with quiet determination. And we'll make sure the coalition knows about this research. They need to understand what's really at stake. Kate returned with coalition security uniforms. Our diversion is set. Coalition sympathizers have arranged for simultaneous security alerts in 3 different sections, all false but convincing enough to split. The Cresian forces. And our path to the ship? Lily asked. Secondary maintenance corridor connects directly to Auxiliary Docking Bay 7. It's primarily used for waste disposal, so it's not heavily monitored. Waste disposal? Meg grimaced. Perfect. It's not glamorous, but it's our best option. Kate said. We leave in 15 minutes when the diversions begin. The final preparations were tense. The recovery tank had been modified for transport with reinforced containment fields and portable life. Support Kate and Meg would guide the hovering tank while Lily maintained constant communication with Zeltura. Coalition security had provided them with official badges identifying them as maintenance personnel. A thin disguise, but hopefully sufficient. Remember, Kate instructed, walk with purpose, act like you belong. No one questions maintenance workers moving equipment. When the signal came, they moved swiftly out of the diplomatic section and into the service corridors of the station. The recovery tank hummed softly as it hovered just above the floor, its systems maintaining the precise conditions Zeltura needed. They encountered few station personnel in the maintenance areas. Those they did pass barely glanced at them, focused on their own tasks. The first part of their journey proceeded without incident. Then the station's communication system announced, Security Alert Sections 12, 14, and 22. All personnel implement containment protocols. That's our diversion, Kate whispered. The Cresians will be scrambling to cover all 3 sections. They increased their pace. Kate leading them through the labyrinthine maintenance corridors, Meg monitoring the recovery tank's systems. Lily keeping constant watch on Zeltura's condition. The Aquarian remained stable, though her stress indicators were elevated. As they approached the junction leading to the auxiliary docking bay, Kate suddenly held up her hand, signaling them to stop. She pointed to a security monitor showing the corridor. Ahead, 2 Cresian guards stood at the entrance to the docking bay. They covered the auxiliary bays too, Kate whispered. We need another route. Meg consulted the station schematic on her portable device. There's a secondary access through the waste processing chamber, but it's not designed for personnel. How big is it? Lily asked. Technically large enough for the tank, but it's a trash chute, not exactly dignified. Dignity is a luxury right now, Kate said. Show me. Meg led them to a large disposal chamber used for processing the station's waste before ejection into space. The chamber was unpleasant, foul-smelling, and poorly lit, but mercifully empty of personnel. The chute connects directly to the bay, Meg explained, pointing to a large hatch. It's used for ejecting processed waste canisters, but we can override the controls to access the bay. Will the tank fit? Lily asked. Concerned Meg measured the opening with her scanner. Barely, but yes. What about the security sensors? Kate asked. They'll detect unauthorized access. I can loop the security feed, Meg replied, already connecting her device to the control panel. Make it look like routine waste disposal, but we'll only have a few minutes before automated systems flag the discrepancy. While Meg worked on the security systems, Lily communicated with Zeltura, explaining their change in plans. A waste disposal chute, Zeltura observed with what might have been amusement. Your species is certainly adaptable. Necessity and desperation make for creative solutions, Lily replied. Are you okay with this? Your recovery tank will remain sealed and protected. After what I endured in the Cresian facility, a waste chute seems like a minor indignity. Meg completed the security override. Feed is looped. We have 4 minutes maximum before automated systems detect the anomaly. They positioned the recovery tank at the chute entrance, Kate operating the controls to open the large hatch. The opening revealed a sloping tunnel leading down to the auxiliary docking bay. The tank would need to slide down, but its hovering capability should prevent any rough impact. Ready? Kate asked. Lily checked Zeltura one last time, receiving telepathic confirmation that she was prepared. Then, she nodded to Kate. Do it. They carefully maneuvered the tank into the chute, Kate and Meg controlling its descent with tethers. The tank slid smoothly down the incline, its hover systems adjusting automatically to maintain stability. Lily followed, immediately behind, ready to assist if needed. When the tank reached the docking bay, Kate and Meg quickly detached the tethers and moved toward their ship, which waited with its loading ramp already extended. The bay was deserted, the diversion having drawn security personnel elsewhere. Too easy, Kate muttered, scanning the area suspiciously. Where are the guards? As if in answer to her question, the bay's main door slid open, revealing 3 Cresian security officers led by the female scientist. With the distinctive red scale patterns, the Cresians raised their weapons immediately upon seeing the humans and the recovery tank. Specimen X-117 is property of the Cresian Science Ministry, the scientist announced. Surrender it immediately, or face severe consequences. Kate and Meg moved protectively in front of the tank, their own weapons drawn. Lily continued guiding the tank toward their ship, hoping to reach it before the confrontation escalated. She is not property, Lily called. Over her shoulder, she is a sentient being with rights recognized by the Coalition. The Coalition has no jurisdiction over Cresian scientific assets. The scientist replied coldly. Our research is critical to galactic security. The specimen contains biological material vital to our work. Your work, Kate challenged. You mean your attempts to develop telepathic control technology? The scientist's eyes narrowed. You are surprisingly well informed for primitive beings, primitive enough to break into your facility and rescue your prisoner, Meg retorted. The standoff was tense, neither side willing to back down. The Cresians had superior firepower, but the humans had positioned themselves strategically using cargo containers for partial cover. The recovery tank was now halfway to the ship. Last warning, the Cresian scientist hissed. Surrender the specimen or we will take it by force. Inside the recovery tank, Zeltura watched the confrontation with growing concern. These humans were risking everything for her. She couldn't let them die protecting her. Despite her weakened condition, she focused her remaining strength, reaching out telepathically not to Lily, but to the Cresian scientist. The contact was painful, requiring Zeltura to push beyond her damaged neural pathways. But she managed to project a single powerful thought directly into the Cresian's mind. I am not your specimen. I am Zeltura, xenobiologist of the Aquarian Science Academy, and I choose freedom. The Cresian scientist staggered backward, shocked by the unexpected telepathic contact. Her guards looked at her in confusion, their weapons still trained on the humans. It spoke to me, the scientist gasped, directly into my mind. She, Lily corrected, not it. She is a person, not your laboratory specimen. The scientist recovered quickly, her surprise turning to scientific interest. Remarkable. The neural conditioning was more successful than we realized. Direct interspecies telepathic contact. This confirms the viability of our research. Is that all you care about? Lily's disgust was evident. Your research, your weapon development, this is a living being you tortured. Zeltura collapsed in the recovery tank, her tentacles floating limply in the nutrient-rich water. The effort of sending the telepathic beacon had drained her remaining energy reserves. Lily watched in alarm as the monitoring systems showed dangerously low vital signs. We need to stabilize her, she called to Meg. The telepathic communication caused a neural cascade. Meg rushed to the recovery tank's control panel, adjusting settings to support Zeltura's failing systems. Her neural activity is erratic, she reported, similar to severe trauma patterns in human brains. What can we do? I'm increasing the neural support compounds in the tank solution. It should help, but she needs specialized care. In the cockpit, Kate monitored both their pursuers and the surrounding space. Cresian vessel is maintaining distance, she reported. They're not venturing deeper into the anomaly field, but they're not leaving either. They're waiting us out. How long until the Aquarian delegation arrives? Lily asked. Based on their last known trajectory and speed, at least 4 hours. That's too long. Zeltura might not have 4 hours. They faced an impossible situation. The Cresian vessel blocked their escape path, and Zeltura needed medical attention beyond what they could provide. With their limited fuel reserves, they couldn't maintain their position indefinitely. Then the ship's sensors detected something new, an energy signature unlike anything they had encountered before. It moved through, the radiation anomalies unaffected by their distortion fields approaching rapidly from the opposite direction of the Cresian vessel. Unknown contact, Kate announced. Not Cresian. Not matching any known configuration in our database. The view screen showed a shimmering vessel materializing through the anomalies. Its hull seemed to be composed of crystalline structures that bent light in unusual ways, creating an almost mirage-like appearance. "It's beautiful," Meg whispered, staring at the screen. Lily felt a gentle touch on her consciousness. A telepathic contact similar to Zeltura's, but stronger, more refined. She closed her eyes, allowing the contact. "We have received Zeltura's call." A voice communicated directly into her mind. "We are the Aquarian, rescue vessel Luminous Depths. Please remain in position." "They're here," Lily announced, excitement in her voice. "The Aquarians found us." "But how?" Kate asked, checking the sensors again. "The delegation wasn't due for hours. A patrol vessel must have been closer," Lily suggested. "Or they traveled faster than we estimated." The crystalline ship approached, positioning itself between the human vessel and the distant Cresian ship. Its presence seemed to cause the radiation anomalies to shift patterns, flowing around it like water around a stone. "They're hailing us," Kate reported as the communication system activated. A holographic image appeared in the center of the cockpit, an Aquarian with iridescent blue tentacles and ceremonial markings floating in what appeared to be a control chamber. "I am Navigator Surleon of the Aquarian vessel Luminous Depths," the being introduced itself. "We have come in response to Zeltura's distress call. I'm Lily of Earth vessel Haven Seeker," Lily responded, stepping forward. "We rescued Zeltura from a Cresian research facility, but she's injured. The telepathic beacon she sent has caused a neural cascade. She needs immediate medical attention." The Aquarian's expression was difficult to read, but the urgency in its telepathic voice was clear. "We must transfer her to our vessel immediately. Our medical facilities are equipped for neural rehabilitation. There's a Cresian military vessel blocking our exit path," Kate informed them. "They're waiting for us to leave the anomaly field. We are aware of the Cresian presence." Surleon replied, "Please proceed with the transfer. We will ensure your safety." The Aquarian ship maneuvered alongside theirs, extending a crystalline docking tube that somehow passed through their shield, harmonizing with it rather than disrupting it. The technology was far beyond anything the humans had encountered. "Prepare Zeltura for transport," Lily instructed, moving quickly to the recovery tank. "We need to keep her life support systems operational during transfer." Meg had already begun modifications to make the tank mobile again. "The portable systems will maintain her environment for 30 minutes, she explained, more than enough time for transfer. While they worked, Kate watched in fascination as the Aquarian ship seemed to manipulate the radiation anomalies, creating a protective field around both vessels. The Cresian ship's sensors would be completely blind, unable to detect the transfer taking place. When the recovery tank was ready, they guided it carefully through their ship to the docking point. The crystalline tube connecting the vessels pulsed with energy, creating a safe passage. Between the ships, an Aquarian medical team waited at the junction, their specialized equipment ready to receive Zeltura. "Thank you for your courage and compassion," the lead Aquarian healer communicated telepathically as they began transferring the tank. "Few would risk themselves for one not of their kind," will she